Hey, Wade.
Hey Carly, today we are diving into how we can explore not the analysis of single rows in our data, but what if we want to explore entire categories or groups of data inside of Python?
Ooh, that sounds like it would be helpful.
So we're going to look at the GPA dataset here. So I've prepared a little bit of data from the GPA dataset. And we may want to start to answer questions that we couldn't answer beforehand with ideas of like, what if we want to talk about everything that happens in computer science or everything that happens in statistics and find summary data about groups of data inside of our data set?
Mm.
So in this series, we're going to dive into talking about grouping data in Python. So we know that we're going to load in a data set, and this entire data set is going to become a data frame. So when we have a data frame, a new operation we can do on a data frame, a new method we have, is df.groupBy. And group by allows us to group an entire data set by a particular variable. So df.groupBy of subject is going to group our entire data set by the subject.
Would it create a whole new data set?
So it creates not just a whole new data set, but it creates almost a three-dimensional structure that's going to contain, that we're going to call a group. And this three-dimensional structure is going to contain information about the summary of all of the rows that are computer science, because we're grouping by subject. So it's going to group all the computer science rows together. And it's going to group all of the stat rows together as well. So we have multiple groups. And remember, this data set actually contains over 200 different subjects. So we also have veterinary medicine and Zulu at the very end. There's going to be a group that contains a number of veterinary medicine rows, a number of Zulu rows. So we have a number of different groups of individual data. And once we have a group, which we'll say G is equal to df.groupBy, we're grouping by the subject, we can ask Python to describe this data. So g.describe will give us information about this entire grouping. But what we're going to really focus on is once we have this group, we want to then summarize information about the group. For example, we see that in CS225, we gave a number of A's. In CS240, we also gave a number of A's. CS241, we gave a number of A's. Same with Stat 100, 107, 200, and so forth. So all of these students who earn these A's, we might want to ask, what is the total sum of all of the A's?
Ooh, that would be interesting. Which department gives the most A's?
Oh, and that's something we can find out as soon as we dive into Python. So to count up the total number of A's, what we're going to do is we're going to aggregate groups together. So the common pattern that we're going to do is we're going to group by and then aggregate. So when we have this group, we can aggregate this group together by doing g.ag and aggregate by any number of summary functions. So if we want to sum up the values in all the columns, we want to aggregate by a sum. We could also aggregate by simply counting how many rows there are. So how many rows of data are there in each computer science? So we count 1, 2, 3. This is counting. So this would be g.ag of count.
Could we look at any statistics? Like, what if we wanted to look at the average?
Yeah, so the average is more commonly known as the mean. So if we wanted to find out for computer science, what is the average number of A's given in each course, we would aggregate or summarize all of these rows that are in each group by g.ag of the mean. And nearly every single basic statistical function, mean, median, variance, standard deviation, sum, count, are all ways we can summarize this data. And in this series, we're going to dive into a lot of different ways of summarizing data and then answering questions such as the one that you asked earlier of which department in the entire University of Illinois gives out the most A's.
That's so cool. And this makes our lives so much easier to have Python do this, because otherwise I feel like I would just have to look at the data and add them myself or use a calculator. But this really helps us to group by and aggregate data and make our lives a lot easier.